everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm talking about how to get a job in Nigeria without necessarily knowing anyone. As young people, right, especially when you're fresh out of school and all of that, it can be really challenging, getting a job. And I remember when I was serving, I had like an employability summit with with other core members in my CDS, and we really just talked about, where do you want to work? How can you get a job? What can you do to really get that dream job of yours? And I remember asking them one question, that is it possible to get a good job in Nigeria without necessarily knowing? And most of them said no. Well, I had to sort of convince them and just have a chat with them on why I think that is not necessarily true and what you can do to actually surmount that mountain, right? We live in a country where there is a very high unemployment rate with several people chasing very few opportunities. But I'm doing this video to hopefully help someone out there who might really be confused on what to do, how to even go about, this job search thing and all of that. And so the first thing I'll talk about is having the right mindset. You must have the right mindset that if I search for employment, I'm qualified enough to get it, right? Of course, there's a role of, knowing someone, just networking with people and all of that, right? But imagine you don't know anyone in, say, company A, for example, and you have that the intention to get a job there. What do you do? Right. The right mindset is always important, always important. Every now and then I run into people who are with employment and they think, I'm not getting a job because I don't know anyone and all of that, or we just believe, you're working in such a place, you must have known someone to get the job. Well, I have worked in several places. One day I'll mention how many places I've worked in. Some, as an intern, some as a volunteer and all of that. And I would say that I think it's just in two occasions that I've necessarily known someone, and that has helped me to get a foot in the door. Right. The first one was when I worked in a place for 3 weeks. Right. I was supposed to do my NYC there, but it didn't happen. But I knew a classmate of mine that works there, and they sort of just helped me to speak with, the director of the place, and I got an internship there, even though it was just for 3 weeks. Another opportunity that I've gotten through knowing someone really is another volunteering opportunity in an international NGO. And it was just for a 1 month volunteering role, right? But from that point onward, every opportunity that I've gotten, I have applied myself and I have thankfully gotten them, right? And so having the right mindset is so important. It's so important. You must believe that you can get it. You must really think to yourself that you're qualified enough to get it, right? That's the first one. The second one I'll talk about is having a good CV and cover letter. For me, a good CV can, in my own opinion, right, your CV doesn't necessarily have to be limited to a few pages. And here's why I think so. Hear me out, hear me out. Think about everything that you've done in your life. Do you understand? That you can craft into a CV. As simple as, maybe we'll discuss CVs in-depthly later, right? But your CV can be as long as possible. Hear me out. If you have like a 6-page CV, for example, or a 5-page CV, what you can then do is having that one, I'll call it like a master CV, right? Having that one CV that contains everything you've done. From there, you can then, it makes it easy for you to just edit that one to tailor it to maybe a specific organization, a specific job role, and all of that, right? Such that when you end up sending to, for that job application, is the one that is customized and maybe shorter in length, right? So that's what I mean by your CV can be very long, have a long CV that has everything that you've done, where you can then, cut from, customize and all of that, depending on the job role. So having a good CV, I can never overemphasize that, because it's the first thing an organization sees about you. They don't know you, they don't know what you look like, they have no idea what you can do. But if you don't tell them and pay attention to your CV, you're not going to, it might be a bit challenging, getting that job that you desire, right? So little things like typo errors, font size, font type, spacing, and all of those things. Those are very tiny details that matter um, you're preparing your CV. Maybe I'll do another video entirely. I'm not HR, right? And I'm not a CV expert, but as someone who has used my CV to get several jobs, I think I can talk about it to an extent. So having a good CV is really important, and having a good cover letter. As I said, for CV, you can also have a cover letter that just discusses all of your interests, your skills in much depth and things like that, right? And you can always customize it to make it shorter and to just tailor it to that job that you want. That's the second thing, having a good CV/cover letter. I'll also talk on job sites, right? There are several job sites out there that you need to sign up for. You must sign up for those job sites. Indeed, Glassdoor, Just Jobs, Jobberman. Sign up to as many job sites as possible. The reason is every single day, right? You're going to get notifications on several jobs. Of course, not everything would apply to you. Not everything would, pique your interest or anything like that. But having those um, should I say, notifications come to your email every single day. First of all, it helps you to see that, okay, there are jobs that I can apply for. You see that, okay. And then you begin to see the ones that really match your interests, your skills, and, your ambition or your desires, right? So signing up to job sites are so important. Sign up to as many as possible. I know some people say, oh, some jobs are fake. There are lots of fake, job ads out there, right? But in the midst of those fake ones are genuine ones. Most organizations will publish, okay, maybe not most, right? But several organizations will publish their job opportunities on this site. When one site picks it up, another site picks it up, and all of that. Another thing I'll talk about is your LinkedIn. As a young person, don't joke with LinkedIn. I've gotten approached to apply for a job on LinkedIn several times. And on one of those occasions, I got the job, right? In fact, I've gotten approach for jobs on LinkedIn that I've had to sort of turn down, like, I don't think I'm ready for this opportunity. I don't think I'm interested in making this move yet in my career, right? So what you can do, you're questioning, okay, where do you even start from? Start by signing up to LinkedIn to start, and just look at people that have good profiles. Then you can just tailor your CV is what can help you to build a good, profile on LinkedIn. Once in a while, just drop, one or two thoughts on LinkedIn professionally and all of that. So don't drop your LinkedIn. Have a good LinkedIn profile. It really helps a lot. It really helps a lot. And that open to work, right? If you're really open to work, put it there. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And I'm not a LinkedIn expert, but I know that I've gotten opportunities on LinkedIn, and also visibility, right? Visibility is also really important. That's the next thing I'll talk about. And what I also like to discuss is the importance of preparing well for your interviews, right? So now you've applied for those jobs, maybe via a job site, via LinkedIn, whatever platform that you've submitted your application through. It's important that you prepare for your interview. And for me, when I'm preparing for an interview, you would almost think I'm writing the exam of my life, because I would research the organization. You would have to, I mean, okay, let me just back a little. Let me go back a little. when preparing for an interview, right? An interview is so important. It could be maybe you've had to do an assessment before getting called for an interview and all of that. But when you have an interview to prepare for, the first thing is first understand what. First of all, you'll be surprised that many people apply because you're applying for lots of jobs, right? You might not even remember which ones you applied for. They're calling you for an interview. That has happened to me before. So I probably have to go back to, type the job again to search for, okay, what did I really apply for here and all of that. Remember what you applied for, right? And number two, research um that role properly. Even though it could be what you're presently doing, it could be what you have the skills in consonance with that organization, right? You need to research that job role again. Pick up that application that the job ad that you saw. Go through it um very patiently, right? Go through line by line each of them in the skills you're requesting for, and ensure that you are researching that job role. Yes, you know it. Yes, you understand it. Yes, 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 yes. But research it again and again and again. And also master your CV. You need to know what your CV is. You're going to be talking about yourself, right? In an interview. So understand your CV, know it by heart, have a sequence of how you want to talk about yourself and things like that. So prepare for that job interview as much as you can. After preparing for the job interview by researching the role and knowing exactly what you want to say and how you want to present yourself, you need to know about the organization, understand maybe what they are doing currently, where they're coming from, if they have annual reports, if you just have, not necessarily go through the entire report, but highlights, have they made profits, have they made loss, where are they going to, what are their goals, what are their objectives, what are some of their long-term vision and plans and things like that, right? That will help you to be able to really understand the organization and of course know their products, right? Know what they do. That's the least you can do. You need to know what the organization does, right? You need to be able to talk about the organization that you work there. So research about the organization as much as possible, such that when they ask you questions of, okay, what do you think you do, right? Some people will actually ask you that. So you need to be able to explain what you know that they do, and you'll be able to talk about it confidently if you actually research about the organization. Researching about the organization as well, research about some of their leaders, the CEO, maybe that department or division that you are in. If you can talk to someone that already works there and all that, that might also be helpful. And another reason it's good to research the organization is it helps you to craft the questions, right? That you it helps you to craft good questions that you're going to ask, back during the interview process. And during the interview process, this is my own opinion, right? If they ask you, do you have any question for us? I feel like questions like, when are you going to get back to me? These are things you can always discuss with maybe the HR person, or when you send an email to them after the interview to say, oh, thank you so much. It was great speaking with you. Don't waste it on asking menial questions. Let me put it that way. Don't waste it on asking questions like, when am I going to embark? How long does it take to, I don't think you should do that anyways. This is my own thing. Ask intelligent questions. Ask questions that show that you really want to be a part of the organization. It could be something about maybe what you've read about the organization, be about your department, be about maybe um could be about your department, could also be about your role. I remember one time I was interviewing with it was the second stage of the interview, and I was interviewing with the CEO of the organization. And guess what? When I asked that question, she was actually writing down. The HR was looking at me like this, like, what are you making our madam to do? But it really showed that I really was interested on that particular job. I knew I was going to interview with her, right? So I watched as many interviews of her as I could find online. I read about her. I went to her LinkedIn. I sort of I read some of her posts, checked out her profile. In fact, I did as much research about her as possible, right? I could understand where her mindset was. I could understand what her vision for that organization was. And it helped me to ask really intelligent questions. And it was so good that even though I wasn't the right, I didn't have all the qualifications for that job, right? Because engineering, I mean, they do engineering and healthcare and all of that. And they needed someone with like 7 years of work experience. They needed someone who was who had a background in either engineering or architecture and all of that. And I have a background in all this. I was able to talk about what I can do, right? What's my being, I mean, the advantage of my background, what it would look like to them. And I got the job, right? So every time when you feel like you're not even necessarily qualified, right, for a job, oh, they are asking for 5 things, for example, I only have to please apply. Apply. Because if you're looking for the perfect job that has every single thing, maybe you're probably even overqualified for that job, right? So when you're applying for jobs, right, don't just look at, can't, I may not get this, so it doesn't matter. What's the worst that will happen? They won't call you back, right? What's the worst that will happen? They'll say, sorry, we're sorry, we're not going to move forward, blah, 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 blah. It's fine. It's fine. Rejection is part of life, right? Them saying no to you is a part of life. Many people say no, and you must get used to it. You must get used to it, but apply to as many opportunities as possible. I feel like I've veered out of interview process and all of that, but just to tell you that even when you're interviewing and they ask you questions that, okay, well, we want this and you are this, right? We want this and you have this. How would you benefit the organization? You must be able to talk about it. You must be able to talk about what you bring to the table and all of that. So research the organization, research the person that is going to interview you. If you have the opportunity to know who they are, right, and just understand them, and then from there you can interact properly with them, and you can have a good time when you're interviewing. Another thing during the interview process, if your interview is virtual, please test your devices properly. Right? This happened to me one time when I tested my devices. I did like a dry run with my husband. I was talking, he was talking. I wanted to see what the sound was like, to ensure the sound was good, my positioning, the right background and all of that. And guess what? During the interview, something still went wrong. And up to now, I still have no idea what happened, right? They couldn't either, I think they couldn't hear me or I couldn't hear them. I think I couldn't hear them, but they could hear me, right? They could hear me and I couldn't hear them. So test your devices. Ensure you have good lighting. Before the interview, sit down. I mean, like you're going to be like it's almost like it's time for your interview. Check, 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 check. Check the lights. Ensure the power will not disappoint you. If you need to get an alternative power source or be in an environment where, maybe go to a hub or something where you know that, okay, light is not going to be the challenge and all that. Of course, there are things that you can't control, but as much as you can control, please just put in that effort. And even when you're interviewing virtually, dress properly. When I mean dress properly, for me, I'll say dress corporately, but of course, the world has moved beyond dressing corporately and having tie and wearing coats and all that. But whatever outfit you want to put on, ensure that it's ironed. It would always look better in your videos. It would always look better if ensure your face is not oily. You check the background properly. Is this the best positioning, sound and all that? Do I want to blur my background? Do I want to leave it like that? Can I try maybe downloading? I mean, using some of the backgrounds that maybe like Zoom will have. Just try so many positions I mean, just put in the effort to ensure that your devices are working, they're well charged. Your phone is not going to ring out. You have good internet. If something happens to one internet source, are you able to quickly switch to another one and things like that? So always check those things. And if you're going for a physical interview as well, please dress properly and be on time, right? I remember one interview that I went for. This is probably my worst interview experience, right? I knew I didn't feel confident because I wasn't dressed properly. Not because I didn't want to dress properly, but at the time I just didn't have skirts and I didn't have this. Ah, it was such a mess because when I got, because I didn't feel confident going, right? When I got to the front of the panel, everything I had studied, everything I had learned, everything I had done, I forgot because I didn't feel confident in myself. And that started from how I appear, right? Dress confidently, always dress confidently, but decently. Mm-hmm. But dress confidently. The hair, if you're going to do makeup, the light makeup, just dress, wear what is going to make you feel confident. And when you're standing in front of anybody, you can speak and you can speak boldly, right? So dress confidently. That would make a world of difference. And of course, once you're done, I feel like there's something else I want to talk about when it comes to interviews, but I don't remember. Maybe when I keep talking, if I remember, I'll talk about. I mean, after you're done interviewing this great organization, send a mail to say thank you for your time. There are lots of templates for all the things. Send a mail to just tell them you had a great time, you're looking forward to hearing from them. Of course, you can always ask, when can I hear back from you at the end of the interview? You see what I mean? At the end of the interview, right? What I mean, don't those questions on, I don't like you. But that should not be the question that you have for them. It's just what I'm saying. That should not be the question you have for them when they say, do you have any questions for us, right? But you can always ask them, you can always, if you've been contacted by an HR person, you can always pick up the phone to call to ask, oh, how soon can I hear back from you? How soon do I expect to hear back from you? And all of that, right? And once you're done with the interview, send that email to them to say thank you, you had a great time, it was nice meeting them, and you look forward to hearing from them. It's going to be a great opportunity, for you to work with them. You look forward to what you can contribute and all of that. Just send a nice email almost immediately. It leaves a good impression of you. And during your interview, please smile, smile, and genuinely take interest in what your um interviewer is saying. Your body language matters. And yes, what I wanted to talk about was, and now it escapes my memory. Yes, I was going to talk about rehearsing. You have to rehearse, right? I'm not saying cram what you want to say, but especially the first question of, tell us about yourself. You must understand your CV. You must understand the chronology of how you want to talk about things, right? How do I? What's the first thing I want to talk about? What's the first thing that would come out of my mouth when they say, "Tell us about yourself"? Right? I want to start with my educational background. I want to start maybe certifications that I have. I want to start with my experiences and all of that. You must. I never want you to talk about your experiences because you should know that I talk about your most current experience as the last thing matters. So you must rehearse, try out different arrangements of things. You can rehearse with a friend, with a family member, with someone that, and the person will, don't say this one like this, say like this and things like that. But please take time to rehearse your lines. I'm not saying cram it. If you cram it, you're going to mess up because if you forget a line or forget something, you might get into trouble. But just know what you want to say by heart. It's so important because if you get that first question correctly of tell us about yourself, it just makes everything to flow from there, right? So always that tell us about yourself question. You must know what you want to say by heart. You must, if so they tap you few minutes in the interview, tell us about yourself. You must know what you want to say. So that you're not saying and then there's no gap. So that there's no gap, there's no hesitation. You're not trying to think about. You already know. And what I mean rehearse, right? Just have key points in your heart that you want to talk about. Okay, I'm talking about my education. What part of it? Okay, I finished with the first class. If you did, okay, this is what I did in school. That aligns, right? Remember, you're learning the CV that you sent to them, and the one that aligns with your skills, right? And of course, if you have other things that are not necessarily in your CV, amazing, amazing. Some people would even say, "Don't put everything in your CV." Well, I don't know about that, but You can expand, talk about what they can't necessarily read. Yes, you have so and so skill. How did you do it? Basically, what I'm just trying to say is rehearse, practice as much as you can, right? And of course, you're done with your interview. And send that email. I wish you all the very best, right? Wish you all the very best in your job search. But and so I mean, basically that's what I have. If I remember more things in regards to getting a job and all of that, I'll let you know. But also in applying, apply as I mentioned earlier, to as many organizations as possible. Apply. You don't feel like you're qualified, it's okay, go ahead and apply. Apply, whatever else you have in your heart. You can have them in your heart, but make sure that you're still taking that bold step of applying, but you're coming strong because you have a great CV, you understand what you want, and things like that. So I wish you all the best in your job search. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, maybe put in the comment section and all of that. I'll try to answer as much as I can, but I think that it's possible for you out there. Not everybody will get a job, right? But you that you're there, that you're watching me, it's possible for you to get a job without necessarily knowing anyone, right? So all the best in your job search. Maybe let me know if this has been helpful to you in any way, shape, or form. And I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share. Right. Thank you. Bye.